The second special meeting of the Eureka Springs City Council now come to order. The item on the agenda is a garden meter standby fee ordinance. I believe it'll be a third read. We'll go ahead and establish quorum, just for the record. Sure nobody bailed out.
Mr. DeVito.
Here.
Mr. Raphael.
Here.
Mr. Berry.
Here.
Ms. Lindblad. Here. Ms. Balance.
Thank you. Motion to discuss?
So moved. Second.
Discussion? Yes, sir.
Well, I'll just go ahead and suspend the rules and place ordinance number 2152 on its third reading by title only. Second.
Okay. Is there any discussion now? I believe there's an issue we may need to address before we go into the third reading. Reducing our income on this is not putting us in compliance with our bond revenues. And I believe Mr. Moyer may address that. I believe he's looking it up now.
The mayor just asked me to mention something to keep in mind on the city's water and sewer bond issues. There's something called a rate covenant. And the rate covenant is a two-part test. One says that you're not supposed to reduce water and sewer rates unless you get a report of a CPA independent of the city that net revenues of the system are equal to, after basically net revenues of the system are at least 120% of the aggregate average annual principal and interest requirements on outstanding water and sewer bonds. And also it states that rates should be increased to the extent necessary so that net revenues will equal at least 120% of the aggregate average annual principal and interest requirements on water and sewer bonds. So, yes, sir.
If this is my understanding was this didn't have anything to do with the rates as much as the shut-off charge and connection charge for supplying the meter, for the water meter for the gardens.
I haven't seen the action, so.
Oh, okay.
It had nothing to do with the usage. And we were going to, I had something prepared to raise the water rates, but I brought that up in March, and supposedly there are some experts coming from somewhere to
Doing our...
do a study on this.
Yes, they are currently doing that. Mr. Kopkick?
I don't really see how that will affect the need for us to raise our water rates.
I'm not sure, that you do say that the rates would do that. I will, and let's see what the... Okay, the covenant does says that rates shall not be reduced until that test is met. So if the council's comfortable that this is not a reduction in rates, then I guess for purposes of that part of the covenant, you could arguably comply with that. Just also pointing out, though, the covenant that you will increase rates to the extent necessary to produce net revenues of 120% of your aggregate.
Mr. Little?
I think given the drought we're in, we're going to have plenty of water usage to offset. This is a minimal, because it is garden meters only. There's just not that many of them. I expect those people will be watering their gardens profusely. So I think we can look at this farther down the road after this study is accomplished. If we do have to tweak something here and there, then we'll do it at the appropriate time.
And this was just, the mayor asked me to mention it.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Bell?
Incidentally, as long as we're talking about that, do you happen to know if the finance director has prepared the paperwork that I asked for regarding flat rate?
Have you...
Point of order.
Yes.
we have this before
Okay,
us today, and we're getting all.
Let's stick with
copies.
this, and then you can ask questions after the clock. Okay, I just wanted you to be aware of what, just to make sure that we were all covered on all the bases before we went ahead and did this. So with that, we have a motion and a second. Since this is the third reading, we have to do this by roll call.
We suspended the rules.
Okay.
Mr. Berry?
Yes.
Mr. Raphael?
Yes.
Ms. Balance?
Yes.
Mr. DeVito?
Yes.
Ms. Lindblad?
Yes.
5-0.
Okay. Mr. DeVito.
I move to approve ordinance 2152 on its third reading.
Second.
Do you want to
I
read the
thought we were
title?
suspending the rules before that, right?
I thought you were suspending the rules to do by title only.
And we all said yes.
And so, do you want to hear the title?
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. Ordinance number 2152, an ordinance amending Chapter 10 of the Eureka Springs Municipal Code, setting certain fees on water rates.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Move to approve ordinance number 2152 on its third reading.
Second.
Made and seconded. We want to do a voice vote on this.
No, it has to be a roll call.
I can't get this straight.
Ms. Lindblad?
Yes.
I think you have a question, if you're in still
I'm sorry,
discussion.
we're still in discussion. Go ahead.
I do. I think I understand where I see the confusion. It's in the title, setting certain fees on water rates. I wonder if we wouldn't be better off if we amended the title to something better like
Water services.
service, certain fees on water meters, if that would make everybody more comfortable. I mean, I don't know.
This is established off a rate, because it's established off of the minimum water usage rate. So it is a rate, arguably.
Okay, I mean, I'm just throwing that out.
I understand, but I think with what's been pointed out, you need to be very cautious with what you're doing. And to remove the word rates, I don't know that protects you at all, because it's based on the minimum billing. So it is decreasing the revenue stream.
Ms. Limble.
Would it be best if we amended to say something like setting certain fees on water rates for garden meters only?
I don't think that would take it out if it's covered by the covenants in the previous documents signed by the city. That isn't going to remove it from it. You have to make a determination of whether it really is affecting the rate. But it's going to remove a revenue stream, although it's only a trickle. Speaking in water terms, it is going to remove fees from the city.
Clear.
It would be, except that it says, the ordinance states that it's except where the location served permanently by the meter is an irrigation only meter. The meter's going to be shut off. What we're trying to do is keep it from being charged. It's shut off and shut up. So there's not going to be any change in the rates. The water's going to be shut off for the usage, right? The water's going to be shut off at the meter, so there's going to be no rates, no charge anyway, one way or the other. It's shut off, so it can't be. When you shut off there's not a minimum rate there. Unless what they're talking about, the minimum rate will be for your regular water meter, not for the garden meter, the way I'm reading this. Is that the correct interpretation? I mean, I don't want us to be in default either. I mean, that's the whole thing. So anyway, I'm comfortable with anything, but I'm just wondering if it shouldn't change that water rates. But the body of it, I think, explains what we want to do.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. Would you please repeat the motion?
Mr. DeVito made a motion to approve on the third reading.
Okay. Do we have a second?
We do.
You
Mr.
second.
Raphael?
We need to do this by,
This would be your final approval, so.
It was
By
by
roll
title
call.
only, was that in your
Yeah.
motion?
That's
Okay.
you've read it.
No, she read it, and then I...
This is the motion to approve.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And this one has to be a voice, roll
has to
call
be
vote.
roll
This will be a roll call.
We began, I have beer, yes. And then there was an interruption because
Yes.
there was a question. So the next vote would be from Mr. Berry,
Yes.
Ms. Balance,
Yes.
Mr. Raphael,
Yes.
Mr. DeVito.
Yes.
5-0.
Mr. Berry,
Move to adjourn.
Second.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.